have a chance to go over the June 2020 minutes. We need a motion to approve them.
July?
No, we gotta approve June too because we didn't have a.
We didn't have a quorum last
Oh.
month, Dan.
I was here, I just can't.
That's right.
I'll make
I
the
apologize.
motion. All right, we got a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of June 2020 minutes, and then now we need a motion to approve the July 2020 minutes. If everybody had a chance to go over them too.
I'll make that motion.
All right, second?
I'll second them.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Minutes approved. Go down to new business, the adult softball league, which they were very happy to have, by the way, Ronnie, thank you.
Yes, they were. The league will end this Thursday night on the 20th. There will be no playoffs, like I said, mentioned before. The league did go very good with teams following the COVID-19 protocol. I talked to Kevin, the umpire, and he said the teams were really good about trying to, kind of always making sure they were following certain guidelines. They are going to continue on their own and play into the fall because, and they're not going to have no umpires. They still want to play a few more games, and I told them they can go ahead and play. So that's no problem with me. I don't know how many teams out of the 8 teams are going to play, but they're still going to get together on Thursday nights and hit the ball around, I guess. So, but other than that, I'm waiting for 3 teams to pay the entry fee dues, whatever. Haven't sent in. I've got everybody else's, but 3 teams are in the process of getting it into. So once I get that, I'm going to get that to Jan, and then we collected $87 a team for Festival in the Park, so that money will go to Candy and Chris McKern. So they did collect some money anyway for the festival for next year. So the softball did end up being okay. So no questions on softball. Okay.
All right, down to picnic shelter in Meadowland Park.
I have got all the permits and all the locates in to start the shelter. All we have to do now is start digging the holes for the posts. I'm thinking it's going to probably be maybe towards the end of the month, and I'm thinking it might take us maybe a week to 2 weeks to get it completed. I did talk to Sheldon about the cement pad that's got to get poured at 18 by 18. And he said just give me about a week or so ahead of time, and then he can get it scheduled in. He'd rather do cement work here in town. Well, he's been running around in Rochester a lot, doing a lot of work for RPU, so he said that just give me a week in advance, and then he can get it scheduled in. So I'm hoping here by second week in September, third week in September, we'll have that shelter, and we are building it ourselves. So just to let everybody know, so we're saving some cost on that part. So.
Awesome, I'd love to have that. All right, down to the land purchase discussion.
A homeowner at 405 3rd Avenue Southwest would like to purchase the back part of, well, we call it the back 9, whatever, what we mow it, because of on the other side of the creek is actually the Frisbee Golf Course down at Lions New Park. But he'd like to purchase some land that kind of runs the same way where the other 2 houses to the north lies too. One house is Kleberger's, it's on the north side. The next house would have been the old Judy Rootworth home, and then this is the Loveday house what he purchased it from the Lovedays, whatever, and he is cleaning a lot of stuff up in the backyard, which really, they had a lot of stuff that infringed on our property, like old snowmobiles and all kinds of things that they actually, the Lovedays had and that stuff, but he's cleaned a lot of the stuff up. He's cut some trees back there, made it look a lot nicer. He did ask me at one time when he first moved in that he'd like to see if he could purchase some of the property to the back side. I told him he'd have to get a hold of City Hall or go to Planning and Zoning and go with that part first. And I think apparently he's done that part. And if you can see, there's a little map here. If you guys, I don't know if you guys see it. It's basically where I marked it, the X part, where he'd probably wanna purchase that land, and probably not go all the way back to the creek, because we still wanna maintain an area for the creek for future bike path that could possibly go on that side. We do have that green bridge, if you guys recall, down there by the car wash that we put in. We also have another bridge that we purchased from, I think, Robbinsdale, probably 15 years ago, that's still sitting out to the shop. And if we ever do put a bike path in there, I'd like to see another bridge go in there. To probably towards the backside of his property, it'd be real close if he purchases this land. So, basically, I think we wanted to bring it to the park boards and see if they had any problem with giving up some land, for this homeowner. It's just land that we have mowed for years and years and years, to be honest with you. We actually went in there probably 20 years ago, I can recall, and there was all kinds of trees in there, and all kinds of real tall grass, and it was really kinda wet. We went in there and spent, I bet you it was probably a good 2 months in there, and redid all the trees, took all the trees out, took all the stumps out, and made it mowable, and made it something decent for the back, cause the people in the backyard, they really just didn't like all the trees and all the bushes and all that stuff, so we did it all the way, so it lined the creek pretty nice. So we spent a lot of time and effort in that a long time ago. It's just a mobile piece, a property, that it'd be less mowing for us if he wants to purchase it and maintain it. He's a licensed, tree specialist. He also wanted to know if we needed any help, as far as doing any boulevard tree work or any tree work that if we needed.
Forestry division.
No, I was just gonna say that.
There's your first part-time employee right there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Done.
So, he said if we, needed any work or something done,
That's
he'd be
like
available to
second
give a
one for the
quote,
year. Tag along with them,
so it'd be a kind of a person that's in town too, so. But anyway, that's kind of the whole.
Ronnie, do you mind if I just,
Nope, you go right ahead.
So the city council did review this at the last meeting. The action they took is that they passed it down to the park board because they wanted to get your feedback. What I wanted to do is I just included something from the minutes, one of the times previous when the park board had chosen to sell a piece of property, the kind of the process that they did. At this time, it was, Michelle and Tim Mendenhall. I don't know, I think a couple of you were on the board then. So anyway, there's a couple questions the council has that they'd like to talk about, and it doesn't have to be, we don't have to resolve this tonight, but, do we wanna sell the property or not? Because we certainly don't have to. Second one would be, what kind of price are we looking at? And do we set a standard for that? And then how do we make sure that it's maintained and things like that? So, those are the questions the council kinda had, just for you guys to mull over. I mean, it has happened in the past. I know when Ronnie mentioned it to me, he had said, that this is a possibility, and I thought, well, less mowing might be a positive. We spend a lot of time mowing, and they do a good job, but, for an area that doesn't necessarily serve us, if it was an area that served us more, I would certainly not even consider it, but. we
Kind of offset it back, kinda jogs back so it doesn't do no good.
Well, and the other thing to think about is, Ronnie talked about, we don't necessarily have to sell the whole parcel to them either. Like, the neighbors to the north got the whole parcel, but if people said, well, it is a little too close to where a bike trail would come out, we could sell them 20 feet of that, or 50 feet of it, or something like that. Doesn't have to be the whole thing either. So, something just to think about. There is a process where we would have to go through, and we're gonna have to parcel this off if we decide that we wanna sell it. So it is a little bit of a, but at the same time, don't feel like you have to do it either, because if you say, hey, I don't think we wanna sell it, it's no skin off my nose, and we'll tell them that. Because I don't know how to set a price for it, frankly. I don't wanna necessarily give it to them for nothing, but at the same time, it's not really a buildable lot, it's not gonna get any road, so it's not worth a ton either, so.
Well, and it's saving the city money too, and not having to take care of it.
Well, that's true, as long as he's a good homeowner and he's willing to maintain it properly, it would make some sense to maybe move it. So anyways, those are the questions the council kinda had for the park board to think about, and I don't think any action's required immediately, but over the next month or two, maybe just think about it. When that question comes up in the future, maybe we can apply the same standard that we come up with here and say, okay, here's what the process should be. Dan, did you have something?
Yeah, one of the other things we were talking about too is, possibly having them, if they're interested, to go to the process of platting it out too. instead of
Oh,
the city.
right.
Cause that would be their expense if they want it.
Mhm.
Well, right, even if we only sold it for $1,000, we'd say one of the requirements would be that you're gonna have to do the survey, and you're gonna have to pay for the minor subdivision process.
Yep.
The notification,
And-
because that, you know, that could be another $500-600 at least.
And if that's something we do, it's something we should put in our minutes and process so we can do it if it comes down the road again. So we know what to do instead of just
Right.
guessing.
Right.
Mhm.
It's more of a, makes easier decisions for everybody.
Yep, I agree.
This is a dumb question, but right below that, there's another PID number. Does somebody
I
else
see
have a
that
house
little
right
one.
next door that they're gonna
That's-
come and ask the same thing then, or?
You mean that
I bet it is.
241-0540?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's take a look. I think it is in the
And I
house,
was gonna say, I
actually.
don't have my
Yeah,
phone, I
that's-
could
I'm
bring
I'm
it up
guessing
and
we were
measure
not,
it.
we probably weren't
That's
zoomed in
Simon's
enough,
old
so.
house. That's maybe Simon's old house, and, I don't know if they'd wanna purchase it or not. I know they
I
have
mean,
chain link.
this could just
yeah,
continually keep rolling if.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and that stuff.
But that's another,
There'd be one more lot, that would be maybe Simon's old lot, she doesn't live there no more, I don't know who lives there, but we own the vacant lot that's right next to hers.
Yeah, there is a road right away too that would cut this off, so it won't go all the way down.
Yep, that would be our property.
We would stop at the road right away just because of utility easements and things
Yeah.
like that,
Yep.
so.
Yeah.
Yep. But there is, you're right, Jan, there is one more piece of property besides Hanson here.
Well, my thought is, you know, I have no problem, the city's gonna get a little bit more of a tax base on it, so that's
Mhm.
a positive, less mowing. My thought process, just continue on, you know, give them the offer to not buy half of it, 'cause then you still got a jagged section, you just keep going straight across like the two to the north would be.
but then you'd have to have an easement in there for a potential trail. If it's-
Is it that close to the creek?
We gotta make sure before we did that.
Well,
you know.
that'd be an option, but it would just, if the
But
other
it-
property lines
I mean,
are-
if you did that, you'd still wanna write in an easement then,
Yeah.
you know, for the potential, or make sure we know.
Yeah, it's just, we just kinda drew it on there, but yeah.
Okay, so that'd be my thing, is that, you know, the other two are square, that just keep on going
Well, I need to go with her.
square to the
Yeah.
south, and
Mhm.
it just make it cleaner, I think, mowing wise, keeping up
Easy
wise.
maintenance, yeah.
I think we would probably put a perpetual easement over the top of the whole lot, and it would just, it'd be for utilities and for trails. Because, I mean, we're not gonna charge him a lot for this, and hopefully, I mean, my
Mhm.
expectation is he's gonna use it for mostly outdoor storage. And that's not to say that he wants to put a shed or something back there, he can do that. I just know that right now there is there's a riser that goes on this property,
Mhm.
and so we would put an easement over the top of that anyways. So, I just think that's good practice. Whenever the city sells property, usually we just put an easement over the top of it, just in case there is, especially because it's park related. If there
Yeah.
ever was a need, they have to understand that, you know. I don't think that's unfair either.
No, I think they'd probably understand that as well, so.
Sure.
Mhm. So should we think about it for a month and bring it up next month? And give us all a chance to kind of go over there and take a peek at it too.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can take a ride out there and see what it looks like.
It's a good time of the year to do it, a little bit
Mhm.
better than 2 months from now or 3 months from now.
Yeah, a lot easier.
Nobody's come up in the past and talked about any flooding or anything back there lately, have they?
Mm-mm.
It does get very wet because all
Yeah.
the water from, Windsor Court goes underneath the highway,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
it dumps in between the parking lots of the 2 apartment buildings. It goes across the road, jumps the curb, and then goes all the way down into that area. But it only goes probably from the back of that house on, I can't think of the street there by the 2 apartments, 6th, I think, whatever, southwest, but anyway, it only goes into that park area a little ways, and then it finds its way down to the creek. Where this is located, it's pretty high, and it's pretty dry for them, but if you kept going more to the south, then it
Southwest.
starts getting into,
Okay.
like you said,
Mhm.
wet area. But you can see it, it's actual river that flows down there, if it
Mhm.
rains hard, it's unbelievable. It jumps the curb, that's how fast the water's coming from Windsor
Mhm.
Court underneath the highway.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. All right, we'll bring that up next month. So down to old business, the aquatic center update.
Aquatic Center update.
1 week to go, all right.
Yeah, right, no kidding.
Basically, Josh sent me the numbers, whatever, and that stuff today late, whatever, for the month of August. And, there was some days where we were closed for 3 days in a row, because of the terrible incident there with one of our guards. We were closed on the 31st of July, the 1st of August, and the 2nd of August. So we really actually, I think on the 2nd of August, we did open in the morning and, got 90 kids through the morning. But with total numbers for the month of August, 8/1, all the way through up to today, we had 3,919 people visit us in August, which
That's
I think
good.
that's still pretty good.
That's great.
But we've had a pretty good, actually good warm summer.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we can't complain about that. So the numbers, I think, look real well. We had quite a good group in the morning session, the first session. Our numbers did kinda go off, they did sink down in the afternoon session from 4:30 to 8:30. We had, basically 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and I didn't get a chance to give you all this, and I can get this to you, but, maybe next month here I will, but there was 4 days where we had, over 100. One was 157, one was 169, one was 120, and 203. The second session, that's 4:30 to, 8 o'clock. But other numbers ran at night was like 45, 46, 33, 43, 70, 78, and 45. So that's kind of where I just thought I would, let you know as far as the second session numbers. There is gonna be, we're still planning on staying open till the 30th, right now. There may be limited hours though that last week because of staff limitations in school and all this other stuff coming up.
Is that an update? I thought it was the 26th, Ernie.
It says on our website, but we wanted to go, Josh and me wanted to go till the 30th.
Okay.
Yeah, and he thinks that he's got enough staff to be able to open that last week at least for 3-4 hours, from like noon to 3:30 or
Okay.
noon to 4.
So how's the weather hold up? Looks like it's
Yeah.
gonna cool off next week pretty hard,
Yeah.
so.
That was the confusing part from some of the employees, because some were saying the 26th and some were saying the 30th, so they were.
Yeah, some of the employees don't know it yet, but me and Josh are trying to prolong it a little bit because
That's
I
kinda what we
feel-
discussed at the last meeting, I thought.
Yeah, and we just wanna see if we can get some more numbers and get a little more income coming in. Like I said, it ain't gonna be a whole day deal, it's not gonna be in the morning, nothing like that. It's
Well, it
just-
sounds like you've got a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
You know, 1 to 4 basically, and
Yeah,
then that's pretty much it.
yeah, get 4 hours, and
Right.
if it's warm one of them days or something, and kids
They'll be
are not
busy.
to school yet, that's good, you know,
Mhm.
kids will come.
Sure.
So, we have received a couple nice emails from residents and local people that have, bought some groups up and used our facility. They have thanked us over and over and over for us to be able to open our facility. They thanked the staff. They said that our host system was very great, how we had it all set up, how we had the COVID response, how we did that. They emailed Tim's seen it. I think maybe the council's maybe seen some of it, but I just wanted to let you know that there was a lot of nice compliments from some didn't get the email way, but I've heard a lot of good compliments from people in town, that enjoyed that we did open up and, gave that opportunity for the kids, 'cause everything was taken away from them, of course, you know. So, that's a good positive on our part. Another thing too, to let everybody know, the 3 lifeguards that, saved, the little girl here way back in July, the last council meeting on the 12th, they came up and received a recognition award from the fire department and, I think the police department and the, I don't know, sheriff department, were they involved too or something, I think, I'm not for sure.
Chief Hansen was here from that.
Yeah, so they received a reward and, a life-saving type of award, so that was really a cool thing that the fire department did. And Josh has put in the paperwork for the lifeguards, Red Cross Saving Award, so they'll receive that probably sometime here in September, October. So they'll get another recognition from, the Red Cross. Just like we did here about 7, 8 years ago, the other girls had an incident and stuff, so Josh got that put in there, so just to let everybody know, they are getting recognized for what they did. Also, if you haven't heard, I talked to Tim a little bit about it, City of Rochester did okay a new splash pad down in Rochester. They're getting funds for it. I heard it's gonna be maybe $150,000 or maybe a little bit more. For the $150,000, I don't think it's gonna be a very big pad, but, that's kind of the funds I heard that they were doing, but, they still haven't, decided to put some aquatic center in there, nor I haven't heard any more on Byron situation with, re-upping to try to do another facility. But I think once the election process goes through and, if, Darrell Glassmaker, the mayor, gets re-elected, I'm sure he will contact me and they'll come up with another plan, because he got a lot of the stuff for me, but the park board and him kinda went, I felt, maybe a little bit extravagant for Byron, you know, for the price, whatever, but I'm sure they're gonna go back to the drawing board and try to figure something out, so, that's gonna be coming down the road, I'm sure, for Byron, but, just to let you know on that part. Other than that, pool's been great. I mean, it's been good, concessions have been great, decent weather. I think we made a really good choice doing what we did.
Absolutely.
I think it's gone about as well as it could have.
Mhm.
It's been a lot of happy people,
Yep.
A lot of happy people.
and that's what we're here.
From
Yep.
workers to taxpayers.
Any questions on the pool, anything? Okay.
All right, move on to Veterans Park, Stonewall update.
Lot of information on this one, okay? If you don't mind, I wanna take this off, I can talk better here, we got a lot of stuff on this. I met with John Dingley up at the wall on July 29th. We all talked about at the last meeting here that we need to get some more quotes to get some final type of price of what we're looking at for monies, for the wall. He gave me an additional repair bid for the work to be done on the pillars and the wall caps. Remember the ones, we had one pillar, the top peak point that's gonna have to be replaced. He's gonna have to remold that and pour a, which he can do, and that's part of the whole bid too, but he said we just have to get one of the tall ones repaired, the other ones looked fine. He also gave me a bid for, in front of the curved wall, there's like some pizza-shaped type cement on each side. And he thought it would be really kinda neat to also, he would give me a separate bid of having some type of brick, kind of a reddish type of brick that would really set it off really nice once the whole thing is repaired and make it look really neat. These pavers will last, he will guarantee these pavers for 50 years to 60 years without moving. So he said, they're put in there very good, they're really colorful, they're really cool. He showed me some pictures of what he did, some of them up north, and he also did some down in Iowa, and that really made it look nice, some of these, nice limestone walls that he's repaired. So he gave me a quote on that. Also, we looked at the sidewalk in front, and we also looked at the curb in front of the structure. They are in serious bad shape. They have not, they need to be replaced. If we're gonna stick the money into the wall, we need to repair the curb, we need to repair the sidewalk, we need to tear that all out. There's 118 feet from one side of the, wall to the other side, which me and Sheldon, Torrenson, we went and met up here too. We spent probably an hour and a half up there, and went through everything and stuff, and he gave me quotes too, and I'll be telling you them on them here in a minute, but that definitely needs to be repaired. There's 2 handicap ramps that go to the sidewalks on Second, and they are out of configuration, 88, they have to be redone. So if we're gonna be doing the curb, and we're gonna be doing the sidewalk, we're gonna be doing the ramps. for the sidewalk for people to get up to from the road to get into the thing. So that was another thing. Sheldon, he gave me some bids to repair the middle sidewalk leading into between the tall pillars. So what I'm trying to say, there's a sidewalk that goes into between the pillars, and then there's this one railing that's in between, which would be taken out. But if we did the red brick and then put a sidewalk into there, it would really kind of look nice. So he gave me a bid on that part. He also gave me a bid for not having the brick put in there and then just having it all redone into new cement and new curb and gutter and new handicap things. He gave me a bid on that. He also gave me a bid for cutting out and putting the cement on the back side of the wall, which John Dingley says we have to do. We got to do that. So he gave me a bid, and I was really surprised at that. That was only $600 to do that. So I thought that was kind of a pretty good price on that part, but he gave me on that. What this is, he said, none of this pricing, though, I wanna make sure everybody knows this, includes the wall down by the drive-in road that goes to our shop. John Dingley didn't quote on this, neither did Sheldon. That's in bad shape, it's leaning. And John said it'd be really, to the point you'd have to do a lot of extra work to repair that lean that falls back in there, because it's actually dirt underneath there. So, I did not quote any of this, and I really, to be honest with you, I mean, I talked to the neighbor next door. He would love to have that stone wall out of his yard, because a lot of it's on his yard too. It's not on the parks, it's on his yard. So he said no problem if we had to take it down, that would be no problem. So we are quoting the main front and the main wall in front of the picnic shelter. That's also included in this bill, so them walls will stay. Okay, so that's what I'm giving you money or these quotes on. It says, let's see, the curb will not have to be replaced in front of the picnic shelter. That's in good shape. There's only a couple sections of cement that has to be dug out and repaired, so we're in good shape there. So that money doesn't have to be spent on there. So just to let you know on that part. Okay, basically when it all comes down to it, reticulated stone, which is John Dingley, the first quote that he quoted us was $36,554. With the additional work that we want him to repair the caps, and we wanted him to repair these pillars that, you know, with the flat things, because they were cracked and they were looking bad. That was an extra $6,440. So the total bill from John would be $42,994. Okay? If we had John do the red bricks in the front, that came in to an extra $6,962. So the total price from John would be $49,956. That's if we went with that brick option on these nice little moon-shaped type, I call them moon-shaped pizza type things, which would really look nice. So that was John's money on that part. Sheldon, by Stone, what we talked about was the 118-foot curb and gutter that's gonna have to be removed. That price came in, basically with the sidewalk removal and the curb and gutter removal in front of this main structure was $5,592. That's just for removal.
You said 55 what?
$5,592.
92.
Okay? For replacing the new curb and gutter and putting in the new sidewalk in front of it, minus in the moons, whatever, the curb and gutter was $4,484. The new sidewalk, minus in the moons, was $4,924.50. And if we wanted to have him do the moons without doing the pavers, that was $1,680. So Sheldon's cement bid in front of the main structure was $11,088. Okay? So the time you put in the removal you put in the new, and then you add, was $17,280.50 for cement work, okay?
What was that amount again?
$17,280.50, that's for the main monument, that's total cement. That's not having the pavers, that's just putting all new cement in, and fixing the 10-inch behind and all that stuff, okay? If, then we go to in front of the picnic shelter, that wall. Pretty cheap on getting that repaired for cement. We just got a couple sections we gotta take out, sidewalk, couple spots, sidewalk removal and put in new was $1,155. So when it all comes down to it, Sheldon's bid to do all the cement work, to get the curb and gutter, get all new sidewalk, get everything all repaired in front of the stone and behind the stone, do everything, was $18,435.50. Added on to John Dingley's, without the pavers, $42,994, which totals $61,429.50. Okay? That's the bid for cement and fixing the wall. 61.5, basically. If we went with the pavers, we would add another 5,000 minus in Sheldon's work. That came up to $66,711.50 if we went with the colorful pavers. So that would be the total cost of fixing the wall, the cement, the curb and gutter, and all that.
And they added another 7,000 for the brick, if you want.
No,
That's included.
that's included.
Cause that's a 43, cause I had the 43,000
No.
without the brick, and then 50,000 just about with the brick,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, it was $42,994.
It was 49,000 with the brick, was 49,950.
So I write up
Right.
500
Yep.
to 50,000.
Yep, so, but if we minus, just forget about the brick, pavers, okay, and we did all cement, and Sheldon did all the cement, was $61,429.50.
So it's a go brick or go,
Let's go brick or go all cement.
okay, so it's those, okay, gotcha.
There's a 5,000 difference.
Okay, gotcha.
Basically. Yep. So, Sheldon's half moons are only $1,680, while the pavers are $6,962, that's the difference. So, John said it's kinda totally up to the park board, it's up to the council, whatever, but he wanted to throw that option out there with the red pavers because he said it would really, really kinda set it off and look pretty cool and neat, you know. As far as guarantees, as far as how long this is gonna hold up, whatever, he says he believes we could get at least good 30 years or more out of it. Can't guarantee anything, he says, when we start doing it. But he says we could guarantee some good years out of it. He didn't really give me but he said, 20, 30, 40 years, I'd feel comfortable with that. That's what he said. He did tell me, when I did meet with him, that the tuck pointing that was done, which he told me on the phone, the motor that was put in there was not the proper motor. That's the reason why it's re-cracked, and redid it. And he says you gotta add certain chemicals to the motor mix, which he says I can tell that was not, and then you gotta add extra line into the mix, and it cures it better. And then he also said that we should spray it, we should seal coat it, and on the can, that would be something that, we at the city would probably end up doing, cause that's not part of the bid, but he could get us the right proper stuff, and we could, and he says it actually should be brushed on. That would be a job and a half. But he says, it says on the can to seal it every 5 years, but he says, I would do it every 3.
So how much is that?
I don't know what that would be. He didn't have anything for me, but that's the pricing of what it would actually costs to do the wall. So, and he also told me, he said that he would be willing, if it was decided on by the council sometime this year or early next year, that he would be available as soon as you could get a hold of him sometime around April, 'cause he goes back to Scotland and spends the winters in Scotland. He's from Wales, Scotland. But he said sometime in April that he'd be available to start if the council decided to do whatever. So, that would be the price of the wall. I just wanna let everybody know.
Thank you for getting that, Ronnie.
Yeah,
No,
thank
working
you.
good, thank you.
Yep. So,
Well, it's better than the first one we got.
yeah, you know, I mean, and I talked to the gentleman again, just to let you know, I think I told this to Tim.
Sure.
I talked to him down to building restoration. Building restoration was gonna completely tear the wall down, use the same stone, get other stone, and completely build it.
Yeah.
And put in rods, and he said that would last for hundreds of years, over 100 years.
Yeah.
That's the reason why their price, it would be a total
Much
rebuild.
higher, sure,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep.
Completely tear down and re-put back.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been built by WPA then,
No.
that's the only thing, you know.
Yeah.
We both that we're trying to
Yeah,
preserve.
trying to preserve something, yep.
So, I guess it's, you know, what you guys think, what we wanna do we wanna recommend anything to the council, do we wanna have the council bring it up maybe in the September meeting, or do you want us to wait on it, or what is your guys' feelings?
In my view, go for it. We have a $5,000 donation so far, plus some more money too, but we have 5,000 from CARE.
Yeah, exactly.
CARE is for it, and, I know it's a lot of money, but what do we have for history? The water tower, you know, they're trying to preserve the school, they're working on grants for that, and now this wall. You know, I guess, because I lived in Europe, I know how things are.
Mhm.
Old, preserve it. Why do we wanna tear everything down?
Yeah. No, I'm personally for it. To at least recommend it.
I have no problem spending the money, you know, at $60,000, that's money well spent, I think, for something that's been around as long as it has some pretty good memories in people's hearts, and, you know, if you get 25, 30 years, well, nothing lasts forever, but Mother Nature's a pretty fine woman to where, you know, she could tear that down in one storm too, so.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, if the city can find the money and with donations coming in and, you know, I wouldn't have a problem at all with it myself.
I would say too, with that brick, it sounds really neat, it sounds like it'll set it off, and with the donation already, that's the brick right there.
Cause that's
You
the
know.
first part, not Sheldon's part, but the extra $5,000, and
Right.
that might be
That's
that's a great donation, say, here's the
Yes,
extra
it is.
$5,000 to cover that.
That sounds nice.
Yes.
Brick, yeah, to set it off.
Mhm.
And if we're gonna go with the Veterans Memorial in the park there too,
Yes,
you know,
that'd look really nice.
that, I would assume it'd be in close proximity or something there.
Mhm.
Tear down that flower bed that's a mess.
Dan, your thoughts? Well, you're council, you guys will have to vote on it, but how about you, Roger?
Well, I think it's a far cry from that first bid we got.
Yes,
Which makes it a
exactly.
lot easier for us to say, go ahead with it. You know, I mean, we only had that first bid, the only bid, which was kinda scary, you know. Totally changed my mind, I think it's good to go, you know, make a recommendation to the council to put it in their hands, you know.
Chuck?
I'm for it, it's a good idea, I'm just, if the council doesn't come up with the money for it next year, are we gonna be able to proceed the following year with the same amount of quotes or same amount?
Well, I'm sure that prices would go up, you know, just because I'm sure everything does have a tendency to go a percentage up, you know, so
Mhm.
that would probably be going up. You know, and I'm sure John, you know, I don't know what he would do, but that's a valid point. If it's put off a year or so, to get put back into like 22, you know, I'm sure we'd have to get back to bids again
Mhm.
and go with that process again.
Well, yeah, I'm for it, doesn't hurt to ask,
Yep.
you know, and see what they say, give it to the council, see what they say, yeah.
I agree.
I mean, I guess the question is, from my perspective, obviously, working with the council, is, what recommendation for cuts would the park board have to make up for this additional expenditure? So I think if, obviously, if it's revenue neutral, it makes it a little easier decision, but what programs and what projects that Ronnie's got scheduled for next year that would you wanna cut then to make up for the extra $60,000? Because that's really probably what the council's gonna be looking at, is they're gonna go, well, you know, I think we all would love to do it. I mean, I know it's a great historic, you know, project, it's wonderful, but at the same time, we're trying to get that levy, you know, down to you know, the council's target's very low this year, which I think we wanna try and help the taxpayers in this kind of environment. And I just know that'll be the question that they'll ask me as well, what are we gonna cut to make up for this extra $60,000? And does that mean no, you know, no extra picnic tables, you know, or no extra, you know, truck? I know Ronnie there's some equipment that you've identified that you wanna try and get a hold of. How are we gonna kinda reconcile those two expenditures? I'm not saying that necessarily we all have to come out of Park and Rec. I can foresee, you know, maybe we can talk to the liquor store and see if they can help pay for part of it. We've had a good year there so far. And that's, you know, maybe we can get 15 grand out of them. So, but there's gonna be an amount of money that we have to come up with that's not budgeted, it's gonna have to be paid by the taxpayers. And I think that's the biggest question I see, you know what I mean?
Cause $60,000 is gonna raise property taxes.
Well,
2%?
5.9 is 200,000, so 60,000 is about, about 2%, maybe 1.5%, something like that.
So, I mean, that's a lot of money that the council's gonna have to look at.
Better than 20%.
No,
Think we
true,
could
but I mean,
they're
just gonna look
Start
at.
a big fundraiser and just let the public know.
Yeah,
How
and-
far we get with it.
Right, we need to do some fundraising, and Aspen Festival and the Park Committee too, it's up there at the wall. Ask them to help. I mean, you know, why not?
And we did submit for trying to get 10,000 out of Legacy, but I know that their state's pretty well tightened up on their money too.
All
'cause-
their money, yeah.
Right, we're talking maybe 57 even doesn't get done next year because of their DOT is kinda playing games with it right now, so I mean, I don't know, it's just not a great time for that, but if we could get 5 grand out of the donation, or even 10 grand would be better, obviously, or we did, you know, 10,000 from them, I mean, that number, if we can chip away at it, obviously it makes it more manageable, I mean, that's fair. I don't know, Ronnie, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean,
Is
I guess.
Sorry, Ron, excuse me, but is budget time's coming up, and I think as far as looking at the numbers or seeing what we can cut, we'll get a better view of that once, we start going through the budget.
We already did,
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and also too, what they,
And that's already been
it's
cut.
safety too, like
Mhm.
Ronnie's mentioned many times, it's not more of how it looks, it's the safety.
Well, that's what I said, I mean, I definitely think it's a doable project,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of, you know, do we have to defer something else to
Right.
22 in order to
Make it
do it,
happen.
you know, and that's the thing, 'cause it would make sense if we're gonna do it if you're gonna do it next year. Otherwise, you might as well just, I'm sorry, just give it up, because it doesn't, you know, it's just gonna continue to degrade, like you said, I mean,
Right.
I'd say do it, but does that mean we have to defer something else, and what is that, what does that mean?
Is there monies, you know, like the Welcome to Castle Pillars, who's that organization that put into the?
Foundations.
Yeah, is there not money in that?
I don't think the community foundation here really exists anymore.
Yeah, I've not heard of it after that.
I got
Okay.
some in my back pocket.
Mm.
What's that? Well, yeah, we know there's
We
a
know
possibility
some,
here,
there's a
but
possibility.
we wanna blow that chance for some, because the Veterans Memorial, that's another 100,000 right there, potentially. You know,
Mhm.
and that'd be a nice amenity as well. I don't know, I'd love it if we could do this one without having to fire that shot, Ronnie,
Right.
because I wanna save that one.
Mm-hmm.
We do have somebody who's been willing possibly to make a larger donation, but, you know, I think obviously we may have some other things that we wanna, I mean, that we wanna use this for. If they're gonna do one donation, then let's make it, I think this one's doable, it's just a matter of, let's see if we can scrape together the cash,
Mhm, I agree,
you know.
I agree.
I mean, we can go through that budget again, Ronnie, and maybe see if we can find a little bit more, or we can talk about that, and the council on the 26th will be going through the budget. They've, already received copies of it in their last meeting, but they'll be making their first set of cuts on that, and I'm not sure exactly what they'll identify, but, I mean, it sounds like the park board is very interested in doing that, and I mean, I take that feedback, you know, to heart, because obviously, it's just a matter of what is our priorities and what can we do, you know, without having to blow the budget. So.
Was there an article in the paper last week? 'Cause, this new reporter came to town.
Renee, yeah, she's got a lot of the information I've given
Yeah,
her.
'cause she called me and she called you and she wanted to talk to Jerry Keith
Yeah,
and.
there'll be an article coming out maybe this week.
Oh,
she
okay.
said, so
I was gone, so I
there'll be
didn't know.
There'll be an updated here coming out. So,
Okay.
I didn't give her a lot of these, I didn't give no numbers to her because I didn't
Yeah.
have them at the time, but she asked me basically about how this whole thing came about and what all happened and what's our process and where it stands and stuff like that, so I filled her all in on stuff like that, so.
Yeah, I think, putting up some signs around town, and I know that, you know, we had the money returned to people that donated here at City Hall, because it was keep it until, May or something, so we did return their money, but if we, you know, come up again and say, you know, this much money instead of what we had before, and we really need some help, maybe we can get some more donations, I don't know, but it's certainly worth a try, but you gotta get, maybe we can get a donation can at Hardware Hank or something.
Oh, in the liquor store.
Yeah, in the liquor store, you
Like
know.
a potential picture of it or something. Is, like, Dingley able to do that? Get you a potential picture of the finished product? Do you know?
Probably not.
All right, it's just a thought.
Yeah.
Or maybe
It's a
somebody
good
else
idea,
is
but
talented on
School, take that to the arts department in school, and,
it. Yeah, they could.
you know,
It would
don't they
just-
have a 3D printer up there?
Yeah, they do. It would just be so
No,
much easier for the
maybe a
public to
project
go,
or something to do.
oh, my gosh, that'll be sharp.
Mhm.
So do we make a recommendation to the council to approve it, but we gotta wait to figure out how
Well, I think
we're gonna finance
yeah,
it, or what's the?
what appropriate would be if they'd make a motion to, forward this back to council,
Okay.
with these prices that Ryan described, with a positive, with positive feedback, obviously acknowledging the council has to make the financial choices that, I mean, in the long run, we don't really wanna be the ones that have to cut something either, you know?
Right,
That's why they got
right.
elected, and that's
Nobody
kind of their job, but,
Right.
I know that's kind of what I would suggest. I mean, 'cause it sounds like we're all interested in moving forward with this if we can.
Okay. All right, that sounds perfect.
And eventually get
So-
something in the city newsletter too again about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you, that's what you'd be
So,
looking for, would be a motion to those, to that, just basically stating that.
Okay, all right, so make a motion to return this back to the council with the, between John Dingley and Stone by Stone wall for 61, or actually, we're gonna add that red brick in there, so 66,711.50 cents, am I correct, Ronnie? Okay.
Yeah.
You wanna, when you send that in, you'd wanna itemize it too, so they can.
Yeah, we'll get that information Ronnie's
Oh,
got now,
yeah.
he'll give me
It's
that,
all
as a-
itemized.
yeah, he'll give me the handout for that, so.
Just, it's
we'll
a
have
lot
that.
easier to look at.
That'll probably be on the September 9th packet, I'm expecting that's when they'll probably, they have a budget review, we'll talk about it a little bit at their budget meeting,
Yep.
but the 9th, they'll have more time on the 9th to actually go through it and talk about it some more.
Okay. We just need a motion, correct? Right, so I have a motion to forward this on to the council,
I'll make the motion.
and a second.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The recommendation forwarded to the council. All right, Ronnie, thank you though for all of that.
Mhm.
Very, very good. All right, the park board, member positions.
We, of course, have a position open here on the park board. Citizens, I talked to Jan, they have been picking up some applications at City Hall. We have one here from a gentleman named Lee Erickson, and Jan knows of maybe another one or two people that have, picked up applications but haven't brought them in yet. So I just feel basically we should just give maybe another month or so, see how many people actually turn them in, and if there's one or two or three people that, you know, put an application in, we'll look them all over, maybe at a meeting, and we can decide, and then we can put someone on maybe in the month of October or November or something, just before the.
And that finishes, the only issue with that now, Jan, you had mentioned that term does expire in December, so
December, so we can put 'em on.
realistically, yeah, I mean, we'd have to make sure that they were willing to serve another term then too.
Right.
Right.
So maybe it'd be best, maybe we don't put them on until December.
I don't know, I mean, it's up to you guys, I mean, you know, it's always good to have somebody who's a, you know, it's a quorum, but.
I would think if they're going to this, they're gonna wanna be on more than just 3
let
months.
them, just let them know that the term would expire at the end of the year, but you want them to do this and next year, or the next term. Let them
Yeah,
know
the
up
next-
front.
Yeah, the next 3 months and the next 3 years.
Just let them know up front.
3 years?
Yeah, 3
I
years.
see the same names from 2013, a couple of them, this is a lifetime appointment, you know.
Go back to like the 1990s and you'll see my name still on
I was
there.
All
gonna
right,
say like
very
maybe
good.
2007.
All right, well, that's awesome, that's great. It's nice to have some longevity, for sure.
But I think we should maybe give the other people an opportunity, and then, we can,
Agreed.
take a look and see who does apply. I mean, a month's time would give us at least an ample time, I think, to see if, you know, who else does. I do know also too that, Terry Myers also expressed some
yeah.
interest again to get back on, and I see him, he's actually, the Lions members are actually helping the school, take care of, some of the grounds of doing some mowing. So, I see him once in a while, and I'll let him know that if he'd like to
He should
reapply.
fill out an app.
He should put out an app and send it back in, so just to let everybody know.
Cool.
Okay.
And I did tell the chamber too, so
Okay.
they know. Right, correspondence.
I have one thing that was brought up to me, East Park there off of First Street. That
Yeah.
one
First
Sits
Street,
down there, that.
northeast, yep.
Yep.
In the little tiny corner.
Yep, so somebody, they guy driving by there all the time and they wanted to know, they know it's a city park. They were curious if the park board would be interested in looking into making it into a dog park for the residents over there. Something simple, I know what I would require fencing, it would require budgeting, I thought that was just brought up, so I wanted to bring it.
Hasn't that been brought up before?
Yes, it has. That area has been brought up in Manorville.
Many times.
When Manorville ended up deciding to put the dog park over in Manorville.
That's right.
The residents, there is certain residents that wouldn't mind it. We took a survey, and there's certain residents there that said absolutely not.
Gotcha.
Yep, and, there's a water main that runs right through there, you know, through the park. So that's the reason why we got that anyway. It was
Mhm.
from Blaine's years ago, and it was just one of them vacant things that nobody could build on, so we inherited just a lot.
Sure.
Now the railroads went in there, and then that, new drainage went, next to the railroad, and that stuff it dumps back into the thing. We need to, trim up the trees that are there, and we need to maintain that a lot better, but going back to what you said, Dan, it was brought up, I can't remember the year, I can look back at it, and it was decided that the city of Casson didn't really have a good spot for a dog park.
Mhm.
No.
It was at the park board level, and I can look back and find all that info out, because I think that's only fair. But, then, I think people from Manorville came,
Mhm.
and then what we did, the city of Casson donated some money
Yep.
to the city of Manorville for the dog park.
That's right, I looked through it.
Yep.
It was like $5,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
$5,000, yep.
So they decided that the dog park would be put over by the main water tower by that Mantra deal and that
Mhm.
stuff, and that's where it's located at. That was all the stuff with the dog, but that was the location that they were looking at, remember that, Liza?
Yep, it was.
I couldn't
for
remember,
sure.
and that's why I told them I'd just bring it to the park board meeting, and then
Mhm.
I could always just come back with an answer for them.
Okay.
They were just curious, they were newer.
You were a couple? Okay.
You know, so I'm sure they didn't know, and I didn't. I just knew there was city of Casson that gave money to Manorville for.
That's still a good question though for that little East Park, but what do you do with it? There's not much we can do.
No.
No, and hopefully it won't flood. I mean, it got to the point when that creek raises, we get them heavy duty 700
Nice.
floods.
Every 5 years.
And the water does spill back into the park there, but,
I had a, if you don't mind, Ronnie, I had thought about that too, 'cause I drive past it when I try to get out and go around town, look at yards and lawn signs, and, I get patrol, for the council and
Patrol
everything.
duty.
That's right. I wonder, what about a community garden? So I know, when I was in Blue Earth, we did 2 dog parks. One was small dog, one was large dog, and we also had gotten a lot that we didn't wanna pay taxes on with the HRA, that the Housing Authority actually owned it. So they actually turned it into a park temporarily until they got a developer, basically. And that's where they could put their community garden. And you're probably familiar with the one up in Wanamingo.
Yep.
And that's a pretty nice little community garden they've got. I think they've got 8 raised beds, and they put another part of it into, and I don't know, to me, that is a walkable location. People could do a little gardening there if they wanted to. And in the worst case scenario, the problem I have with putting equipment there is if it does flood, it's gonna be a mess.
Yes.
Whereas, worst case scenario, somebody loses a garden, they lose a garden. I mean, I'm not saying it's great, but, I thought, 'cause otherwise, I don't know if we wanna put a lot of equipment in there, I just don't know that's feasible.
we had an old, when I started back in 1988, I remember, it was the first week I started, we put this climber, and that's still in there. And that was put in
Yeah, it is in
88.
there.
Yep, and then there's a T-swing that's on the other side
Yep.
of the park. Other than that, that's it. And, that park has never been our favorite park to do anything. We just put 2 trees in there down, just to get some shade down there, because it was all open. Now the trees are only, they need to be trimmed up and maybe possibly taken down. I don't know.
Well,
But
I think part of it is people drive by it a lot, and keep seeing it sitting there and keep wondering,
what's going on?
yeah,
What are we doing
what
with that?
could we do with it? And so they just think, what if we could,
Well, is that something you guys ever looked at, like a little community garden park?
I don't
It's a
know.
good idea.
I don't remember us ever discussing a community garden really,
No.
on the parkland side of things.
What's the one up by the
I mean,
school? By the power,
Well, we're talking behind the power, I don't know who, is that schools? It must be schools. I've walked past it and,
Yeah, there's a bunch there.
there's some beds in there too,
Yeah.
but it's along those lines. But that one's hard to get to, 'cause it's not in a good spot, whereas this one, you do have the apartment complex a little bit down the street where people might, I don't know, for some of the seniors who are used to gardening but can't do it anymore, don't own property, it'd be a cheap thing to put in too, I don't know, that'd be something to think about, it might be a project for the guys, they could build some flower beds in the wintertime,
you
I
might
don't
have to
know.
make a
Yeah, we'd probably have to gravel in a little path down there,
So
but
you
I don't
can
think
get
it would
down
have to be
there,
too,
you know.
I don't think it would have to be too, I don't know, to me, otherwise, I hear you, it's not the most useful property, you got the road on the backside, you got the creek, you got a
Yep.
reasonably sharp turn, it's not really where I want kids to be, honestly, or dogs for that matter.
Right.
'Cause you got residents on both sides of the dogs, they barking and they
We
be.
had the DNR
Agreed.
down there, we had the DNR down there because the kids were taking a shovel and chopping off the bank, remember that?
Oh, sure.
And the DNR got involved and they wanted to find the kids and the families because they were monkeying with the bank.
Right.
Cause they go down there, they just fool around down there by the bank there, you know where that outlet goes, and they start shoveling away.
Okay. Well, I'll go back with that.
Would we have to have a place for them to put their tools, their?
No.
Well, I mean, I
Don't they
think,
have that at
the.
At Wanamingo, they do, don't they?
Well, they have a shed there, and right next to the shed, they've got a water, and, the city fellows come, I think, maybe once every 2 weeks and make sure it's topped off, it's like I don't know what it is, couple hundred gallon tank probably. And they do have a shed there, and you can store stuff, not everybody would, but you could. That's probably a space for it for sure there, I don't know, I mean, it's something I think it'd be worth taking a look at, and then we could maybe take that climber out of there and put it up in that little tiny park you've got up off of Fourth or
Mark's
whatever
gotta
there.
get rid of it.
That's gotta
Move
get-
it, it's
But
gone.
that one
Get
is,
rid of
I
it.
drove past that one, and that one's definitely needing upgrades, if we're gonna keep it even.
That thing's been there since the early 60s.
If you move it, it's got
That's
Early
an antique.
60s. That's an antique.
It is an antique.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be
And
code
liability
either.
wise,
That's right, yeah, if you
not
move
a good
it, then
thing.
you're done with it.
Yeah, you're done, because it wouldn't be code, so.
No, if we moved it, took anything out, it.
Well, there are a lot of good things from the sixties, come on now, don't you? A couple
I
of people
know.
here maybe from the sixties.
But we
Anyway.
couldn't put it in, not all of them.
No, I got you, I
But you're
got
right,
you.
Lieutenant. Once we move something, and once we
I'm
do
okay,
something,
yeah.
then it's gotta be all 88 compatible.
Yeah, we'd have to put a plastic one in, sure. No, I got you, I drove past and I thought, that wouldn't maybe be a possible use for it at least, I don't know. I mean,
Great
it's,
idea.
and what we did was we just had people pay a deposit for each of the beds, the raised beds. We said $20, you're turning it at the beginning of the summer, and if you clean up the bed, then you get the money back. Otherwise, we just keep it, 'cause then somebody else has gotta go and clean out the bed. I don't know, we never had any problems with it, so.
Who does all the tilling and getting it ready for the spring?
Well, the raised beds are pretty straightforward, that's pretty easy. I think usually we would go and just till it, one of the guys would take a tiller over there and till the bed up in the spring. It doesn't take that long, it's an afternoon.
We'll have to get a tiller.
Get ready.
Maybe we have to defer that to 2022 also, so I don't know.
I don't know, we'd have to go to Rochester.
He's got some nice
Wait.
tillers over there at the hardware store, Ronnie, very affordable. I got a sod cutter last week, I about broke my back, but,
Yeah,
I think-
we bought that side cutter.
Well, then Shannon's wife do it, so.
I'm not married yet.
You know that?
Yeah.
We bought that
Better
side
get on
cutter
that.
from him.
Did you?
Yeah, the joint ventures bought it.
When?
$600
Sod
bucks.
cutters,
Yep,
yep, last month.
last month.
Oh, gee whiz, look at that. So you
Yeah.
could've cut my sod off
I
for me.
could've.
Jeepers.
Yeah, but it
I
would
got
cost you
it.
a lot more to.
Yeah, anyway, well, I don't wanna belabor this, but I mean,
Yeah, it's
I
good
think that is
idea.
something to think about. It's not something we have to work on now, but
Right.
I just feel like we've got some good opportunities to use some of our green space a little bit more effectively, and I know Ronnie, you'd love to get something in there if you could.
Yeah.
We'll put that in for the stuff for January, February to
good.
talk about, so.
We just, the guys weren't too happy today with that bed there by Subway.
Yeah, I was gonna, my comments, you guys
Took
are,
5 guys 4 hours to meet it.
Yeah, that,
And the state has nothing to do with it, but that thing is gonna be a continuous maintenance.
Well, what can we do to help that? Do we need to put more plastic and rock on top of it or something to cut the
Sergeant said
maintenance?
no plastic, otherwise them plants ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
So it's all just dirt with wood chips on top, and
that was
that's gonna have to get weeded
not-
every 2 weeks. That's
Well,
terrible.
I mean, I guess I'm okay, the trees should be okay,
Trees are fine. but
right?
all
Is
the
there anything
other-
else we can throw in there that'd be lower maintenance for you guys? 'Cause obviously that's not feasible.
well, you're gonna have to put in, a couple, 3-4 inches of
We don't have
mulch.
no control of that, 'cause that's state designed. That was all.
That's what I wondered.
We
who
don't have control of
designed
it,
that?
but
That was the
what are they
state.
gonna do?
Yeah, the state,
was
they,
horrible design.
they designed it with, Nick knows most about it, why it was,
Well,
but
we can
Teresa
take
and
more of
Nick
it.
had to look into it. because
Until they yell at us, we can do whatever we want to. I mean, that's the thing.
Oh,
Better to ask for
man.
forgiveness.
Exactly.
I mean, we let it go, you know.
Especially if they're
we
broke,
weeded
they're not
it-
gonna-
We
Yeah.
weeded it this spring. Well, then, we didn't get back to it for a couple months through the summer. Oh my gosh, there were some of them
Time
roots
to
were
get,
that deep.
time to get some Boy Scouts.
It sounds like native prairie grass to me is what it sounds like, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Native prairie grass.
Well, someone's gonna have to get ahold of the state then, because that was a whole thing that we could only do this, and we were supposed to do that. The state designed it, they had an architect come down and do all the designing.
Sure.
They picked out all the plants, they did all.
I was gonna say, we never got a say on that,
No.
'cause didn't that go through the EDA as well?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, and I just,
mm-hmm,
that was just poorly okayed.
yeah.
Or approved,
They
that was
wanted us to go,
terrible.
they wanted us to go all the way up on the other side,
Mhm.
all the off ramp, all the way up.
Yeah, like no way.
Another 170 feet to the,
Yeah.
to the west.
Well, obviously that's not feasible.
No,
So,
no, but like I said, I mean, I didn't wanna.
So is it the case of hauling, another 4 inches of mulch and laying on top, the mulch is gonna block some of the weed growth,
Yeah, we'll have to get more mulch.
Little
for
bit.
sure, but-
yeah.
so.
It looks nice, everywhere.
I bet it does. Well, I'll go and check it out.
Check it out, it looks good.
That's right, for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take a picture quick, stand next to it.
Yeah,
Here, I thought it was a tree and it was a weed.
Yeah.
right, does anybody
I
have
just
anything
got
else?
one more comment. The, 3 trees that are planted in Lions Park on County 34.
Yep.
That we put in 4 years ago now, is it?
Yep,
They still look like a 2-year-old tree,
yep,
and they're still staked. Are they ever gonna grow, or is that something we should maybe pull those out of there?
they'll grow. Leave them set, they'll grow.
Be patient.
I think they're just as tall now as they were then.
You gotta see the one in front of my house that hasn't, it's been there for 2 years and it is just now
Wait till that,
producing some
wait
leaves.
till that root system takes hold
Yep.
and then she'll grow. Well, I can't always predict and say, you know, a tree's gonna grow in 5 years or
No, I
it's gonna
just-
take 10 years, you know, I don't know.
No, I didn't, it
But
just seemed
it's
even.
still alive.
I was there when they dug the holes, and
Oh,
most of it was
they're green.
clay and gravel.
It was nasty down there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're not
so,
gonna-
They'll get there.
Okay, maybe I'll go throw some fertilizer or something around the roots sometime.
Miracle grow.
Well, good, that'll be like a feature article, the care for trees, the love it, you know.
Why you aren't
Yeah, there you go. Anyways.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay, so the next meeting, September 15th.
Okay.
So do I got a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
All right, second.
Got it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, meeting adjourned.
Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Mhm.
Everybody.